up, Raffleaders? Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about strong dollar policy versus weak dollar policy. And the reason why I'm addressing this topic today is because the government of Guyana has responded to my last video about the strength, that is the value of the Guyana dollar rising, starting to rise. Now, a little update. It turns out that ExxonMobil has made a decision to bring up their schedule, that is to increase their production rate much sooner than planned. So we're going to be 5 years ahead of schedule. So remember the last video I made some calculations about the GDP and the GDP per capita. It turns out that ExxonMobil has now decided to move up their production schedule 5 years ahead of schedule. So they're going to achieve 1.2 million barrels a day production by 2025. And what that means for us is that Guyana will now have a GDP per capita of about 73,000 US dollars per annum for each citizen in the country. Now, you're familiar with these calculations. I've done these calculations before, so you're probably familiar with them. But let me repeat for you what it means. Right now, that is, Guyana is producing 340,000 barrels of oil per day. And that works out to be 340,000 times 30 days times the price of oil today, which is $119 per barrel, times 0.1425, which is the percentage of Guyana's take of the total production, total revenue, and that gives us $2 billion per annum. So Guyana is currently receiving into our sovereign wealth fund $2 billion per annum. And when production in 3 years, that is 2025, goes to 1.2 million barrels per day, according to ExxonMobil, Guyana will receive about 6.7 billion US dollars per annum from oil. So it's going to go from $2 billion per annum today to $6.7 billion per annum into the sovereign wealth fund in 2025. And that's way ahead of schedule, because the last time I made this calculation, it worked out that we'll probably get there by 2030 in terms of GDP per capita. Would get to 73, would get to $65,000 per person by 65,000 US dollars per capita by 2030. But now, under this new production schedule, Guyana will achieve a GDP per capita of 73,000 US dollars per annum per capita by 2025, which is going to be ahead of everybody in the Caribbean, right? So currently we're sitting above everybody. I think somebody pointed out in the comments that the Bahamas has a per capita GDP of $32,000 per annum. I'm going to check that out, but let's say Bahamas is still ahead of us, but everybody else is behind us. And by 2025, even the Bahamas will not be earning as much. Our per capita GDP will be higher than the Bahamas, higher than the US, higher than Canada, higher than the UK, right? Somebody else pointed out that, okay, there are countries like Liechtenstein, like Morocco, like Monaco, that have a higher GDP per capita. But let me point out that Luxembourg and Monaco are not countries, they are principalities, right? So most of the people who work in Luxembourg commute there from neighboring countries, but all of their earnings are treated as production for or by Luxembourg. That's GDP, contributes to GDP's to the GDP of Luxembourg. So I don't consider Monaco and Luxembourg to be countries on the same level as sovereign nations like Guyana and Canada and the UK and the US. Anyway, I'm gonna handle some of those questions in a later video. But what I want to get back to is what this means for the value of the Guyana dollar. So I pointed out in a previous video that because of the wealth fund, right? Because when the wealth fund reached 500 million US dollars, suddenly if you look at the history of the exchange rate between the Guyana dollar and the US dollar, there was suddenly a stabilization. The Guyana US exchange rate stabilized at somewhere around 214, right? Because before then it was fluctuating wildly. And if you look at the graph of the exchange rate, you can Google this, you'll find that around November 2021, the exchange rate just stopped fluctuating and became quite flat and stable. And then started popping up above, 214. In other words, it was increasing. The exchange rate between the Guyana dollar and the US dollar was getting narrower. The Guyana dollar was getting stronger. Now, with this new production schedule, what it means is that the value of the Guyana dollar will increase much more rapidly than previously thought. In other words, I was thinking that by 2030 you're going to see a significant rise in the value of the Guyana dollar, but if the money in the sovereign wealth fund works in the way it has already shown to work, that is to stabilize the economy and to stabilize the Guyana dollar, then the value will rise. Now, what does that mean? It means that there's going to be increasing confidence in Guyana's ability to pay its debts, right? So if the country is becoming much more reliable in meeting its financial obligations, that contributes to the rise in the value of the Guyana dollar. People think that the value of the dollar will rise only if other people start buying the Guyana dollar. In other words, if they think it's a valuable investment. But that's not how it works. It has to do with the stability of the economy. If Guyana has a significant sovereign wealth fund, then that shows that Guyana can pay its debts. And that means more confidence in the economy, and therefore people will be able to lend, or investors will come and do business because they know that the government is going to make them whole. In other words, they're not going to lose money because Guyana has the money to back them up, to show, to support their investment to make the country grow. So the value of the Guyana dollar will rise because the economy now looks like a less risky bet, right? And there's more confidence in the economy. So the question is, why is it that some people, including the current administration, why is it that the PPP government does not want the value of the Guyana dollar to rise? Now, if you go to a recent article in the news and on social media, you will hear the current president, Mr. Ali, saying that the Guyana dollar should not rise. There are ramifications if the dollar rises too quickly. In other words, they're cautioning their supporters and the population that they don't want the value of the Guyana dollar to rise. And I'm saying I disagree wholeheartedly. I've actually repeated this many times on previous videos, that the value of the Guyana dollar rising is a good thing. And so for this reason, I want to explain why I hold a strong dollar policy, right? First of all, like I said before, Guyana's exports are already priced in US dollars. When we export goods, it's usually to earn foreign exchange, even before we have oil, right? When Guyana exported agricultural products or whatever it is we exported, we usually sell it in US dollars so that we can gain foreign exchange. And that does not change. Guyana's economy will still earn foreign exchange from the export of goods and services in US dollars. And if we're already pricing our exports in US dollars, the value of the Guyana dollar will have no effect on what people pay for Guyanese goods and services, because they're already paying in US dollars, right? So that's point number one. When they caution you that Guyana's exports are going to become more expensive if the value of the Guyana dollar goes up, that is nonsense. It is false. The reason why it's false is that we already use the US dollar to sell our products. Our exports are sold in US dollars. So point number one is that the value of the Guyana dollar rising will not affect our exports. And so those politicians who think that Guyana's exports will be less attractive because if the value of the Guyana dollar goes up, they are wrong, right? Point number two is that the value of the Guyana dollar rising means that our imports will be cheaper. In other words, if we have to convert Guyana dollars to US dollars to buy imports, and now we can do it simply from the investments coming in from the sovereign wealth fund, but our imports will be cheaper if the value of the Guyana dollar rises. So it means that the things that we buy in the supermarkets that are imported are going to be cheaper for us if the value of the Guyana dollar rises, right? And that's a very important thing, because in the inflationary economy, when everything is going up in price, Guyana will be getting things cheaper as the value of the dollar rises, right? So we are going to be like the counter current to the trend of growing inflation in the world. We should be seeing the price of goods and services go down in Guyana, even as the rest of the world deals with inflation. So that is why it's a good thing if the value of the Guyana dollar rises, our imports become cheaper and we can get cheaper commodities in the stores, whatever they be, whether it be fertilizers for the agricultural sector, whether it be farm equipment, it be vehicles, all these things become cheaper if the value of the Guyana dollar rises. And thirdly, and most importantly, if the value of the Guyana dollar rises, I actually made this point before, it will serve as a pay raise for every Guyanese citizen. In other words, everybody who earns Guyana dollars now can exchange them for more US dollars. So let's say you earn $60,000 a month Guyana dollars. If the value of the Guyana dollar goes to become equivalent, that is to the US dollar 1-to-1, it's not going to get there instantly or in any short amount of time. But if it does, it means that your $60,000 salary can be exchanged for 60,000 US dollars, right? And imagine that. If you're earning $60,000 a year, that is 12, 6 is 72, $720,000, $60,000 a month, that is in Guyana dollars, and $720,000 a year. Now, if it becomes 1-to-1, now you're earning 720,000 US dollars a year, which is way above, what most Americans earn. So the value of the Guyana dollar rising will serve as a pay raise for every individual Guyanese who earns Guyana dollars. Now, there are lots of other reasons why the Guyana dollar should be encouraged to rise. In other words, there's lots of reasons to support a strong dollar policy. I'm going to let all those people who think that the dollar should remain weak, put them in the comments below. If you think the value of the Guyana dollar should remain weak, give me the reasons in the comment below. But as you know from previous videos and all of my history, I've always supported a strong dollar, and these are the reasons, the ones I just stated. The value of the Guyana dollar should be encouraged to rise, and we should support a strong dollar policy because everybody benefits when the value of the Guyana dollar rises, right? If Guyanese now travel abroad, we can shop like everybody else in the world because we have a strong dollar. We'll be treated much more with more respect. We'll be welcomed, because we have a strong dollar. We can exchange our money for more US dollars and be able to spend more, buy more, shop more, travel with, much more respect. That is my point, guys, about the value of the Guyana dollar, supporting the strengthening value of the Guyana dollar, and why I support a strong Guyana dollar policy. In the comments below, tell me what you think about the value of Guyana dollar rising. What do you think about Mr. Ali's comments about the value of the cautioning about the ramifications of the value of the Guyana dollar going up too quickly, and whether you support a strong dollar policy. If you don't, let me know in the comments below why you think the dollar should remain weak. Remember, you can share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in Georgetown, Guyana. Later!